Okay guys, so this video is gonna be how to take apart the Maxi Trac Napa compressor. This one here in particular is owned by a friend of mine whose compressor just stopped working when he started it. He actually already started taking it apart, but didn't get too far, so gave it to me to see if I can figure it out. Yeah, so he got like this top portion taken off and took off some of the heat shrink in there. I just put it back together just so I can show you guys how to take it apart and put it back together. I'm not 100% sure if I'm gonna figure out the problem, but I guess we'll see. These are the tools that you're gonna need. You're gonna need two Phillips head, one pointy one and one kind of fatter one. You need an Allen wrench, not exactly sure the size, but I guess find one that fits and go with it. And then two different sockets. I mean, two of the same 10mm sockets, and you'll see why you need two of them, just so you can hold the other end of the shaft in the motor. And then you need one of these. It is, I believe, 3/16. Let's see. Yeah, whatever. Just find the size that fits and go with it too. I think that's all the tools you'll need.
So that was a fucking lie.
So let's get started on taking this apart. All right, so get these four out on each corner and you just put them to the side. The one with the logo is the one that has the two small ones, the other two longer ones, and then you take those off as well. So just put those to the side. And already you see some exposed hardware, or I'm sorry, some exposed wiring there. And that's what I was talking about. My friend had already taken off the heat shrink because he thought the wiring was loose. I don't think that's the problem. The problem I was having on my compressor was the wiring on the inside here. That is where I suspect the problem to be. The entire compressor actually needs to be completely taken apart in order for me to get to that. Go ahead and take this hose off here, kind of just separate these. It's better if you take off this switch here too, or you can just, well, let me do this real quick. This side of the motherboard or whatever slides off these rails here, plastic rails. Here doesn't have anything. And the switch here, just unplug it. It doesn't really matter because when you put it back together, you can, oh, I'm all over the place. You can, like I said, just take these off. It doesn't matter which way you put it on once you put it back together. So once you take this off, I'll show you how to take this switch off also, so you can reconnect it to test it later on. There's these two screws. You can just leave those there. That just basically holds this wire in place so it's not like shaking around too much. Okay, so I got this off. Basically, you just pinch this side here and then just shove it out. I'm just gonna keep it off for now. I am gonna start taking off the legs for now. You don't have to take these actual legs off. You just take this Allen key right here. Really, to take off this bottom piece, you really only need to take off the two here and the other two. Okay, down to the last one here. I'll just show you me taking that off. Once that's off, see how these just come off like that. Put the hardware away, and these can stay here. And that's usually how I have it standing so that it's not like tugging on the wire too much. Once that's off, I just leave these on here, this, and then the other two on the other side, because we're gonna start working on the top now. If you take this and the other side off, this is gonna just start jiggling. So keep this nice and steady, work your way from the top down. So now in order to take these off, these are essentially the cylinders and pistons in there. You can twist these off. This is where the filter is at, but for now, we'll just keep that on for now. Again, use the same size. It's gonna be total 8, 4 on each side. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, whatever, the rest of them are being difficult, so. There we go. One thing you'll notice is this side, that metal part there actually stayed in place, and this side kind of just came off. This is supposed to stay there. What I did notice on my compressor is on one side had all this grease on there, and on this side had nothing. And I'm gonna assume that this probably doesn't have any grease in it, and it doesn't. Yeah, this is just completely dry, and the other side has like all this grease. On my other one that I took apart, I just put this one back exactly how that came off and left this one as is also. I'm not sure if they're both supposed to have grease, but I guess 2 for 2, it's exactly like that. So maybe yours might look like that, I don't know. Just remember that these two metal tangs, they point outwards. This you don't really have to do anything with. For this one, the problem is gonna be here. So put this to the side for now and proceed with that guy. All right, so moving on to the pistons. This one just comes off, same with this side. Here you kind of wanna be a little gentle because there is a seal there, and then this plate. Same thing with this guy. And there. From here, now we can start taking this guy off. And that guy, and that guy. Using the same Allen key. Here we go. We got the 2 screws taken off from each side. Now that's loose. So see, this is exactly why when I was taking off the legs here, I only took off the 2 here, because if I had taken off the top 2 up here, and this and that was still on, then this would have been like shaking all over the place. So that's why I kept those on there until I got to this point. So now that this is off, you'll see that there's like a part right here where this piston can actually fit. So you just lift this up, and there you go. Oops. Yeah, be careful with that. And then same thing with this guy. Lift it up and make sure this doesn't fall, and set that aside. So now this is where these 2 come handy. The reason why I had 2 is because in order for me to loosen this side and that side, I need to hold one of them in order for me to loosen the other one. Yeah, first thing to go is this and this side, and then after that you take off this black Allen key right here, or that's where this comes along, because it's not the same size as this guy. It's gonna be the 360. Got it! Maybe I need a bigger one. Hey buddy! Yeah, I need to go to the garage and get a bigger size, so it's not the 3/16. These are just counterweights. See how it's facing the opposite direction, one facing down, one facing up. I'm gonna go grab my kit and get the right size. See, if you only had one, you're just gonna be spinning it. So you hold both sides and you, whoa, I guess you can set one down and just, whoa, whoa. Well, this side came off. So now I just gotta take this one off. I don't remember what I did. I think I just held this and... Okay, I'm remembering what I did. So I had this big pipe wrench and hold that, did this, and voila. Oh, I forgot. This is a 5. So it's not going to be the 3/16. It's going to be the 5mm, I guess. I don't know. now when that's off, bam, that just comes off like that. And this counterweight just stays there. You don't have to worry about remembering the orientation of this because the shaft has a flat side, and obviously the flat side is going to be where that screw goes down into. And the opposite side, I remember this one being kind of weird too. I did end up taking this off and shimmied this out. It should be the same as the other one. I guess just one side is tighter than the other. So just take that guy off. I guess in this case I'm lucky because I don't need to. The reason why you're taking these pistons off is so that you can take this orange part off, because this orange box comes out this way. Not too concerned about this one. Eventually I do take it off because of the motor shaft. I'm just gonna take this off and worry about this in a second. There we go. Now you're down to the motor. We are gonna take this apart, and it is just gonna be these two here and these two here. The whole rod actually goes all the way through. Same thing on the other side. You'll see that in a second. That can stay there until you get this metal piece taken off. There you go. Don't forget there's this washer, I guess. I don't know, but that goes there on the shaft. And see, this is what I meant. These rods are threaded. I guess you can just take it off or keep it there. I guess take it off, whatever, but put that to the side. So this is already free. This side is gonna be connected to the motor. Just pull this away from this, not this away from that, because you risk kind of damaging this. So this has the magnets inside of it, and you'll see there was a bit of resistance as I was pulling it out. And if you try to put this back, it's gonna want to go to the side because it's magnetized. And that's basically how a motor works: is the magnet, the coils, and then, well, I don't need to tell you how a motor works, but this one, yeah, don't put it next to your tube television. You can see why this was a bit hard to take off, because there's brushes here and here, and these springs will constantly push that brush up against this motor. So you can just slide this on out, just be careful. And I do find it weird that, see this brush here, it's supposed to push it inward, which is what it's doing. It's supposed to be right up against this, but this side didn't get pushed out. So I'm wondering if that could have been the cause. Maybe this one just got seized or something. So see how this isn't getting pushed in? I'm seeing this already, the spring got stuck. There you go. See how it's, oh. That's weird. Ooh. I think it's a bad spring. See how right here it's like perfectly circle? Here the spring looks like it's kind of bent and it's not pushing this properly. Ow! Yeah, don't stab yourself. But anyways, spring, yeah, the spring just kind of came off track there, but it's supposed to slide this brush in and out. So I'm gonna do some investigating and be right back. So I think I found the problem. So exactly as I suspected just now, so the spring here, like I said, it's supposed to push and retract. This spring, when I did open this up, I found that guy. And I was wondering what that was until, I don't know if you can see on the inside, of the end of the spring is that, but that broke off of this side, so that's why it pushes it, but once it gets to a certain length, it doesn't want to push back because that spring is broken. So that's exactly what the problem is. See, it's already scratching the inside of that brush, so dang, it's either replace the spring, I don't know where I'm supposed to get a new one, but yeah, basically that is the issue there. It's not being pushed in, and power is supposed to run through here, and onto this motor. Probably gonna take this board off and see if I can flip this, because the other side of the spring there is kind of a hook. So I'm wondering if the broken side I can put on the clip down here and the hook up there. But basically on my first compressor, the issue I was having was the screws here were loose. So there's gonna be 4 screws that hold this chip, or this, I keep calling it chip, but it's not. But it's like a, I guess PCB board, whatever they're called, I don't know. But yeah, there's 4 screws that hold this onto this here. You just kind of look underneath and you'll see exactly where they mount onto the thing. But there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then there's 3 other screws that hold all this wiring down, which is 1, 2, and then another one underneath this here. So the problems I was having on mine was this screw and that screw down there were completely loose. So when these were moving around, even though I had the power on, it would get, I guess this one wouldn't really be an issue, it's more just the holding this down, but here, because it was loose, it would disconnect this from the thermal switch. This is a thermal switch here. It would disconnect it from the thermal switch and would break the circuit and just shut off. And that's why my compressor was running. It would run and then turn off, and then sometimes when I would jiggle the wire, it would run and then turn off. But that's basically the problem. What I technically could have done to fix it was I could have wired from here to here just to bypass that thermal switch, but I would basically be eliminating that thermal switch, and I kind of wanted that feature. So I just took out those 4 screws and then tightened that screw down, and then everything was all good. So in this case, I'm gonna take off these 4 and just take this board off and see if I can do something about this spring here. Here we go. Oh. So I have the spring taken off. This is what's broken on it. So see how this hook here goes like that, and then this end is supposed to be connected to that, and that's what pushes this in and out. So I don't know where I'm supposed to get a replacement for this. All right, we'll see. I'll see if I can somehow find a way to fix this and show you guys if it works or not.
3 weeks later.
Okay, so it's been about 3 weeks now, and I think I've finally found a solution. This was the original spring that came off of the compressor with the broken piece right there, and this is going to be the new one I'll be putting in. So my friend who owns this compressor, he actually found that on McMaster Car, you can buy these springs. Initially he had gotten this one, but turns out it was just a tiny bit too small. He ended up getting these two, and this one here was just a bit too big. This right here is the exact same size as the original one. But if you are curious, here's the part number here. Part number TML0366-032. And this comes in a pack of 6, so you can probably find that on McMaster Car. The ends of these are kind of bendable. If you use the proper pliers, you can kind of bend them and cut them. And I bent this to the same shape as the original one here. This one seems like it's gonna do the job, but I guess I will show you how to cut and bend these ones so that if you need to also do this, you can do it yourself. So I just kind of put this together side by side and just eyeballed exactly where this needs to bend. I guess right around there, and then just bend it upwards. Now you have that first bend there. Now we just have to do the second bend. So put this guy there and then just bend it down. There you go. Alright, so now we have one side done. Now to do the other side. And because I didn't have this piece anymore, I just used the other one from here and kind of referenced exactly how it needs to bend over. It's basically a mirror image, I think. Hold on. No, actually it's not a mirror image. It's identical. It's just the way that it's positioned on this other one. I'm just gonna copy it from the one that I already made. Do the same thing, just kind of get a rough idea of where to bend it, which is gonna be here. So far so good. Now you just have to bend it all the way backwards like that. Actually, I think this is supposed to be completely closed. There you go. This other one, bend it down. This one's kind of hard just because it's so short, so I just put it up against the table and make sure it's bending properly. There you go. I'm just gonna trim this down. Trim down. And just clamp this all the way down. And there you have it. So this is the broken one, and these are the replacement ones. I'll only be using one of them since only one is broken, and I'll keep the other one as a spare. Okay, here we are ready to reinstall this new spring. Put this back in, just like that. It does look like it's pushing the brush a little bit too far out, but that shouldn't matter because once the motor shaft is inside, it's gonna be limited to only about like that far. But really all we needed was just that kind of tension to push this out, and it looks like it's working all right. So see, this is the original one and this is the new one. Looking good so far. So I guess now we can start reassembly, and hopefully we can get this motor to get started. One thing you do need to get is some thermal paste. I got this one from I think Best Buy. It was like $7 or $8, so it's pretty cheap, and you really only need like this much. But this compressor has a thermal switch where if it gets too hot, I think it shuts it off, which is this guy right here. It breaks that circuit right here if it gets too hot, and then it just shuts off. So you do need to put the thermal paste on this plate here before you go ahead and install it. Yeah, you just need a really small amount and kind of spread it around. Okay, I think that's all you need. I guess we'll find out. Now, in order to put this metal shaft into this plate, you have to make sure this part here goes to where the brushes are. So you want to expand the brush and then shove this in. So it's going to be kind of tricky, so just put that in through that bearing there. Make sure the shaft goes in. There you go. This is where it's going to be kind of tricky because you do need to have these brushes pushed out in order for you to get this shoved in. So what I did before in the past was grab these two flathead screwdrivers and put them here and put the other one here. Okay, got it. So see that I got the brushes pushed out and now it's resting on here. So now I should be able to just push this all the way in. There you go. Now I'm ready to put this back together onto this guy here. Okay, everything here should be pretty straightforward. So now it's just literally going in reverse from the disassembly. So, and once it's centered, you can kind of drop in place. And these wires will go into one of these holes. I can't remember if it's this one or this one. Let me see. Give me a second. Okay, I remember. So the harnessing goes here, and then this little breather thing goes over there. And there we have it. Don't forget, this goes in there first. So let me just take these off and I didn't bother recording the rest of that, but I put this nut here and then I used my Milwaukee and I just drove it all the way through. And once it came through, I put this other nut here and tightened it here and held the other side with this 8mm here. And I did the same thing for the other side, this one here. And once I tighten that, these will close and come together that way. Also, one thing to note is there is this notch here on the cylinder, and you have to make sure that this square plate is clocked in a way so that that notch goes here. Otherwise, it's not gonna fit because the other side doesn't have that notch. So just remember that. I now have this motor assembled. I put the switch back on and I put the wiring on my power battery thing. See if I can get this running. And we're just gonna run this, and in theory, this motor should work. Oh, shoot. There you go. And looks like it works, so I am gonna continue reassembling the entire compressor and we should be good. But before I do, I want to make sure I cover up this exposed wiring here with some electrical tape. I really wish I could put heat shrink on here, but I can't. So I'm just going to use some electrical tape and then just zip tying it so it doesn't unravel itself. Maybe just another layer for good measure. Okay, I have everything all reassembled, everything's all tightened down. You may have seen in that time-lapse video that I did try to install these black cover things on first, then I realized that I actually needed to put the pistons on first. So I took them off, put the piston assembly on, and then put this cover back on. Then again, I forgot that I needed to put that bolt at the end of the shaft here and here. So again, I had to take this off, tighten that down, then put this back on. The other thing to note is when you're putting this top assembly on along with this handle, you do have to make sure that this hose here comes out in the same way that you are going to be putting this panel with a switch here, because this hose does need to go through this hole. Initially I had bolted it on the other way around, and of course I had to take it apart and reinstall it the right way. So now that I have everything on, I have it again connected to my battery pack. Everything should just work out right now. And there we have it, a working compressor. Hope you guys liked this video and hope it helped out some people out there. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out, leave a comment, send me a message or something. Thanks guys.